Good afternoon, distinguished diplomats, scholars, and honorable guests. It's my honor to welcome Ambassador Vinay Kumar, a good friend of Afghanistan. He will start with Sufi prayer and then resume.
ای با من و پنهان شده از دل سلامت می کنم. ای با من و پنهان شده از دل سلامت می کنم. تو کعبه‌ای هر جا روم قصد مقامت می کنم. هر جا که هستی حاضری، از دور در ما ناظری، شبخانه روشن می شود چون یاد نامت می کنم. گه همچو باز آشنا بر دست تو بر می زنم، گه چون کبوتر بر زنان آهنگ بامت می کنم. گر غایبی هر دم چرا آسیب بر دل می زنم. گر غایبی هر دم چرا آسیب بر دل می زنم. ور حاضری از من چرا در سینه دامت می کنم. دوری وطن لیک از دلم اندر دل تو روزه نیست. دوری وطن لیک از دلم اندر دل تو روزه نیست. زان رازن دزدید من چون مه پیامت می کنم. ای آفتاب از دور تو بر ما فرستی نور تو. ای جان المهجور تو جان را غلامت می کنم. من آینه دل راز تو اینجا سقالی می دهم. من گوش خود را دفتر لطف کلامت می کنم. در گوش تو، در هوش تو و در دلی پرجوش تو. در گوش تو، در هوش تو و در دل پرجوش تو. اینها چه باشد تو منی این وصف آمد می کنم. ای دل اندر ماجرا می گفت آن دلبر تو را، هرچند از تو کم شود از خود تمامت می کنم. ای چاره در من چاره در حیران شو و نظارگر. بنگر کز این جمله سؤال این دم کدومت می کنم. گه راست ماننده الف، گه کش چو حرف مختلف. یک لحظه پخته می شوی، یک لحظه خوابت می کنم. گر سالها ره می روی چون مهره در دست من. گر سالها ره می روی چون مهره در دست من. چیزی
His Excellency Vinay Kumar, Ambassador of the Republic of India, will talk about the peace process and context of relation between Afghanistan and India. I request His Excellency to start his remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kawush. Let me first of all express and put on record our appreciation for Dr. Muradian and AISS and its staff for having me today in their midst. I would also like to thank you all for sharing this afternoon to hear about Indian perspective on the peace process in the context of India-Afghanistan relationship. To situate the current situation in historical context is very important for both India and Afghanistan. When we in India think of Afghanistan, we go back thousands of years. For us, it's not a relationship of few decades or few centuries, but of few millennia. From the days of Kandahar and everything that it embodies in terms of our civilizational ties, to long years of political and economic interactions in more modern times, exemplified by Rabindranath Tagore's famous story Kabuliwala, is all part of our social memory. And we therefore tend to look at Afghanistan and its current situation in the larger historical context than many others perhaps can or would. We have over the last decades since India's independence consistently been one of the largest partners of Afghanistan in political context, for education, for trade, for capacity building, for strengthening of defense and security structures. And based on our own experience of nation building, emerging from long years of colonial rule, for us, some things are not cliches, but very practical, very real concepts. The concepts of territorial integrity, independence, national sovereignty. When we use these words for ourselves, it is real. And when we use the same words for Afghanistan, it is again very real. So we have, over the years, particularly since 2001, sought to cooperate with Afghanistan based on these principles of sovereignty, independence, territorial integrity. Because without realizing these principles in the national life, it's never going to be easy to achieve peace, stability, and meet the aspirations of people for economic development. After all, the entire subcontinent, Indian subcontinent, today has the largest number of people living below poverty line. It is also a very disconnected region, perhaps comparable to generally sub-Saharan Africa. But at the same time, in this very region, we have relationships which are perhaps most intimate and closest than you can compare in any other part of the world. Let me give you a couple of examples to exemplify what I am saying. A citizen of Bhutan or a citizen of Nepal, and Nepal is almost a similar population as Afghanistan, can travel to India without passport, without visa, can work in India without work permit. Almost 7 million Nepalese are employed in India, in government, in private sector or wherever, without any involvement of the government of the two countries. That is, they don't require any permission, they don't require visa, they don't require work permit to seek employment. Now, this level of integration you would have difficulty finding anywhere else. We also, in this time, last 2 decades, have deliberately tried to create stakes for all our neighbors in India's growth story. Because we think that this entire South Asian region, Indian subcontinent, has historically been interconnected, and we cannot attain sustainable peace, development, prosperity isolated from any one of the countries on the Indian subcontinent. So, taking it in practical steps, we have a very high level of integration that is under implementation on the eastern and northern side of India. So, transmission lines, highways, railways, integrated checkposts, and easy movement of people and goods from Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Myanmar are something that we have realized to a degree that you perhaps would not have imagined even a decade. Our vision is to replicate and do the same on the other side of the Indian subcontinent. And as part of that policy framework, we have endeavored in these 2 decades in particular to have a relationship with Afghanistan which is multifaceted, which is centered on the people and the government. People in the context of promoting people-to-people ties, travel, education, trade, commerce, etc. And at the same time, working with the government to strengthen the capacity, strengthen the government institutions, and to partner in a manner that is clearly seen by the people as a partnership between our two countries. of course, have committed $3 billion of development partnership. More than $2 billion has already been spent. And there are some iconic projects that we all talk about. But more than those iconic projects of Parliament Building or Friendship Dam or major highways, we have more than 350 development projects which have been implemented throughout Afghanistan in all 34 districts. So practically in no province of Afghanistan you can visit and not find some very concrete big and motor structure institution that doesn't have India's partnership. And two very important aspects of India's development cooperation has been that all these projects are, number one, very concrete, demand driven, and implementation of those projects is always done by the government. We have resisted involvement in what we call advocacy campaigns, but focused on asset creation. And all this asset creation helps in the empowerment of the local government. And again, as I said, all of this is done through the government institutions. So while empowering people, it also empowers the government in terms of taking the ownership of what is being done through this partnership. For last 8 years, we have a strategic partnership. In fact, India was the first country with which Afghanistan signed the strategic partnership agreement. And this you can see in the multifaceted cooperation that we have. Despite restrictions in land connectivity, India remains the largest export market for Afghanistan. Every day, more than 500 visas are issued, despite constraints at any point of time in last 10 years or more, you have 15 to 20,000 Afghan students studying in Indian institutions. I won't go in detail about the various activities in terms of capacity building, training of the government staff, of diplomats, of civil servants, so on and so forth. But only underscore the point about our cooperation being on the two legs of people-to-people cooperation and government-to-government cooperation. That comes from India's own experience of development story in the last 7 decades. We have very consistently attempted to build national capacity for sustainable development, which serves the fundamental requirement, principles of independence, national sovereignty, territorial integrity, and limits. We have, in the last 2 decades, expanded defense cooperation, and almost 6,000 plus officers of NDSF have been trained in Indian institutions. Few batches of NDSF women officers have got training in India, Indian institutions as well. The limitations that we have in terms of our domestic defense industry, we have also provided limited material assistance to NDSF. We think that sustainable peace in Afghanistan will create even more conducive environment, greater opportunities for further expansion of India-Afghanistan relations. For this sustainable peace, we again have very consistently supported an Afghan-led, Afghan-owned, and Afghan-controlled peace process. When we use these words, again, these are not cliches. These are real words with very practical meaning. We think that sustainable peace in Afghanistan, in the first place, requires all outside support for terrorism in this country. Dismantling of the infrastructure that supports violence and terrorism here, and an inclusive process in which Afghans have the leadership, ownership and control of how to reconcile and redress internal disputes, grievances, problems, whatever it is may be. It is only through fulfillment of these two conditions, that is of cessation of terrorism, dismantling of infrastructure supporting terrorism, and an Afghan-led, owned and controlled process, that we can see and attain sustainable peace in this country. It is only through such a process that also we can preserve the gains and tremendous gains that Afghanistan has made in the last 18, 19 years. When we say that Afghanistan is not the same as of 2001, it is not the same at multiple levels. Not only that there is a constitution, that so many elections have been held, that it has a strong and capable defense forces, but also that lakhs, hundreds of thousands of Afghans have got higher education, are empowered not only politically and socially, but personally, thanks to the information technology and mobile telephony revolution, which directly makes available to every individual a wealth of information, right, raising his political and social awareness. Preservation of that and building on that gain is absolutely necessary. It is not necessary because we think as a matter of policy or some gesture to preserve that, but it is necessary because the people, once they have gained this level of empowerment, cannot simply give it up. So when we look at the peace process, we have shared with all our partners, and literally we are partnering with every country. We have very regular exchanges on peace and Afghanistan related issues with the United States, with Russia, with China, with Iran, with Central Asia, and with European Union, Germany, and all other countries actually. In the course of this year, for example, every special representative of every country has visited India several times, and similar exchanges have taken place from India to the various world capitals for exchange of views about the process. And as I said, for us, the process that is inclusive, is led, owned and controlled by Afghans, plus cessation of violence and terrorism is something that has the way, can lead us on the way to sustainable peace in this country. And that would further, where I started from, our policy of regional integration for common prosperity, for shared prosperity of the entire humanity inhabiting the Indian subcontinent and Central Asia. And I would also touch upon one more point before closing my remarks. And again, that is based on our own experience, our own development story. That legitimacy, constitutional legitimacy is very important in today's time and age. One of the important changes that we were talking about in terms of empowerment of the individuals, of common man and women, is also that people cannot be easily controlled today. We see that even in our households, dealing with the children. You need to give sound arguments you have to convince them to accept something. The same is valid for societies as well, where people need to see and feel that what is being done by the social leaders, by the political leaders, is legitimate, has legal and constitutional validity. And all these months and years, we have been very consistently supportive of the constitutional processes and popular mandate for our cooperation with the government of Afghanistan. It is not so much the personalities, but the law, the national institutions, which we have been sought to support. To conclude, the context that we see of a relationship of thousands of years guides us to continue working for an independent, sovereign, and a strong nation of Afghanistan, which alone can help fulfill the aspiration of the people of Afghanistan and also contribute to regional peace, security, and stability. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for your informative and informational speech. It's time for Q&A session, and I want to start it with a question, and then we will go to other distinguished participants. My question is, Mr. Ambassador, that according to U.S. diplomats, journalists, and scholars, India is the most important ally of Washington in Asia-Pacific region. Why New Delhi cannot influence Washington policy on Afghan peace process?
In last 2 decades, India's bilateral relationships with US have indeed expanded, and we have a very extensive partnership with the United States across the board. Insofar as Afghanistan is concerned, we have worked with the United States, as we have worked with several other countries, through bilateral as well as trilateral mechanisms to assist the government and people. The development cooperation and the extensive work for capacity building that India has undertaken in Afghanistan has had very direct benefit to other partners involved in various sectors, apart from, of course, as I said, the local economy and the people of Afghanistan. Development has security dimensions, and education of thousands of Afghan men and women has built the capacity which has enabled Afghans to assume greater share of responsibility for political, for economy, as well as security duties of their country. We have partnered with the United States, and we are engaged with the United States in serious dialogue discussions on the peace-related issues. And we fully support the peace mission of Ambassador Khalija, and we do hope that it would lead to sustainable peace in Afghanistan.
Mr. Ambassador, Mr. Khanjani, Mr. Sidi.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, joining. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for such a wonderful comments on the relation between Afghanistan and India in the context of peace process. If I may, I have two brief questions. My first question is at the historic context. Does India have an ideological preferences and interest in Afghanistan? And what form of a government could serve such an ideological interest and preferences in the future? If I may open it a little bit up, would it be acceptable and tolerable for India to see an emirate as an outcome of the current peace process in Afghanistan? That I would be very grateful if you could kindly comment on it. My second question is, does India have a fear that any form of power sharing with the Taliban will help the Afghan politics towards Pakistan? And is it something to be worried about for India? Thank you.
The first question, independence and sovereignty means that it is for the people of Afghanistan to decide the form of their government. But as a friendly country, as a country with long history of cooperation and interactions at multiple levels with Afghanistan, we can only share our own experience. And it has been our experience that a democratic government which has popular mandate, which is inclusive, is the best bet for countries like us, which have various divisions, which have a long historic backlog, if I may say so, to get over in terms of economic backwardness and social backwardness, technological backwardness. A government of this nature, democratic, in which everybody can feel part, is what we think is the most suitable. With respect to the question that you asked, again, India-Afghanistan relation is not a function of third countries. India's relations with third countries or Afghanistan's relations with third countries. Our relationship is on solid foundations of mutual interest, built on what I said, the historic experience that we have of living side by side for thousands of years. So we are not worried about anything what may follow a process. Sustainable peace in this country will in fact create more opportunities for greater India-Afghanistan cooperation. And we don't have to really exert too much to find that this assertion is incorrect. Given just the history of past few decades, in Afghanistan, which is sovereign, which is independent, which is at peace within and with neighbors, is what would only give a boost to the Afghanistan relations.
Good afternoon, everyone. Your Excellency, thank you for your very insightful and deep remarks. I have three very quick and brief questions. The first question, I would like to know about the Indian domestic politics. What has changed that India has moved from the stories of Kabuliwala and Ulagawa movie to Panipat and Padmapat? The second question, you touched upon the principles of independence, sovereignty and territorial integrity when dealing with other countries, specifically Afghanistan. But I would like to put that in the context of Afghanistan-Pakistan relations. India has quite significantly and historically benefited from Afghanistan's claims on parts of the Pakistan territory in its foreign policy. So when it comes to territorial integrity, does India really respect Pakistan's territorial integrity in that sense? And last but not least, historically in Afghanistan, Pashtuns have basically, or I would say Pashtun nationalism has benefited India in the sense that they have always questioned Pakistan's territorial integrity and laid claim on parts of its territory. But very recently, and especially during the Taliban era, the Tajik or the Northern Resistance Front fought elements of radical Islamists as well as Pashtun nationalists who were very close to Pakistan. And now these two factions within Afghanistan are sort of confronting each other and clashing with each other. So in order to achieve a lasting peace in Afghanistan, what role is India playing in that context? Thank you.
The first part of your question. You know, we sometimes tend to take entertainment far too seriously. Bollywood is an entertainment industry, and they have the tradition of making all kinds of movies. So let us take those movies as movies. They are not historical documentary films. And since most persons, people sitting in this room, I am sure you are exposed to Indian film industry, they keep making all kinds of movies. So on Panipat, I would only say that we all have to see and know what the film contains. But irrespective of what it does, it remains an entertainment work without any historic authenticity about it. When we talk of territorial integrity and sovereignty and independence, it applies to all the countries in the world, without any exception. And there are territorial disputes between different countries. And we think that the best way to resolve those territorial disputes is to engage in dialogue. And through peaceful means. We have done that with a number of countries and resolved the disputes. The dispute between Afghanistan and Pakistan, it is for these two countries to sit together and resolve this. The third part of your question, this is what I am emphasizing on repeatedly, that for countries like ours, which have multiple diversities, the way forward for stability, for peace, is to sit together in a process which is led, owned and controlled by the people themselves, by Afghans in this case. It is precisely the interference from outside which has not enabled Afghans to do that. In an atmosphere of violence, of terrorism, you can't do that. So as I mentioned, the 2 points with respect to the peace process, cessation of terrorism and dismantling of terrorist infrastructure, and in parallel the inclusive Afghan led Qanun, Afghan control process. I can assure you that 30 million people of Afghanistan have the genius to resolve those ethnic and other differences that you referred to and accommodate each other to live together and fulfill their common aspirations for better living, for prosperity, for education, health, and everything.
Your Excellency, Dr. Muradian, distinguished guests and friends, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for coming here today. It's been very interesting to hear your talks. You very eloquently described the historic and economical relationship of two countries. What I'd like to know is, what do you actually think of the ongoing peace process? What do you see the hopes and obstacles that exist? And if I may ask one more question, it seems that a deal with the Taliban, a peace deal, is imminent. Yet the engagement between India and the political office of the Taliban in Qatar is less so than the other countries, regional countries that we noticed. So how do you perceive the Taliban of 2019, and how do you think the Taliban perceive you? Thank you.
You know, the first part of your question, the good thing that we notice is that there is great support, great yearning for peace in Afghanistan. And there is significant level of consensus in the international community to support that search for peace. This, I think, is positive. Obstacles, in my view, are twofold. One, that violence continues unabated. Infrastructure that has enabled this violence to continue for so long, almost for decades, also continues to exist. And there is some level of confusion with respect to the process being led, owned and controlled by Afghans. So the positive that I mentioned, in order for that to be realized, I think these two obstacles need to be addressed. And sooner they are addressed, I think the faster we would be able to reach our shared objective of sustainable peace in this country.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for coming and sharing India's perspective on the Afghan peace process, and also thanks to the ISSs for providing such a wonderful platform for this talk. As I understood, the main concept of your comments and remarks was the establishment of sustainable peace in Afghanistan. Given that the establishment of sustainable peace is a time-consuming process and seemingly out of the current agenda of stakeholders in Afghanistan, the question is that how long the people of Afghanistan should wait and at what expense? Thank you.
You know, sustainable peace is not a process, is the outcome. And if the conditions that I have mentioned are met, today you will have sustainable peace tomorrow. You know, sustainable peace is not like you're becoming a medical doctor. 12 years of school education, 5 years of medical college, medical school education. No, it is not. It just requires those who are indulging in violence to stop doing that. And for the Afghan parties, Afghan stakeholders, to talk and discuss and arrive at various aspects of internal life, their domestic life. And some of these will continue to be evolved over a period of time. In political science, in social science, you don't reach a solution for all time to come. Constitutions can be amended depending on the requirements. Laws can be amended. This is a separate process. You simply have to stop killing. So people don't have to wait anything longer than a day if those involved in violence are persuaded, forced to stop it.
Thank you, Ambassador, for your comprehensive remarks. Of course, India is one of the best friends of Afghanistan, but I've heard some of the Afghan analysts expressing their concerns about India's perspective on the peace process, saying that India has concern or is pessimistic about the peace process because as a result of the peace process, the attention of the insurgents would move towards India or Kashmir, for example. So, how much of a valid concern is that? Or have you felt that concern among Indians, whether on the side of the government or the people of India?
We in last 3-4 decades have seen the same source of terrorism affecting both the countries. To that extent, there is a well-articulated Indian interest in Afghans while not being used against any country. But that requires sustainable peace in Afghanistan. You see the point? We sometimes use logic in an illogical way. If we have no terrorism in the region, then we have no terrorism in the region. Or if we have terrorism in the region, then we have terrorism in the region. Am I making it clear to you? You see, what I am saying is that if we have peace in Afghanistan, then we all stand to benefit from that peace by various cooperative mechanisms that I mentioned. Complicating this by saying that those who are fighting here can go somewhere else to fight we imply that we don't have peace, that we continue to indulge in terrorism, that we continue to export terrorists and violence somewhere else. We don't believe that we need to do that. And we don't believe that if we continue to do that, our region will actually see lasting peace.
Thank you very much, Excellency, for very embracing and sharing your perspective about the peace. My question is about the regional factor. How do you think about the peace in the region? We know about the conflict between India and Pakistan. How do you think we should work on the peace as a regional issue? And for example, if the conflict between Pakistan and India is going to be solved, certainly it has a very positive impact on the peace process in Afghanistan. I want to know your perspective about the peace in the region, and is it possible to resolve the conflict between India and Pakistan as soon? How do you think about the conflict between India and Pakistan and impact in Afghanistan? Thank you very much.
You know, the biggest threat to peace and stability in our region is terrorism. So I am very optimistic that our region, like most other parts of the world, can have peace, can have stability, can attain prosperity. Condition is just one, that violence stops, terrorism stops. So the entire region stands to benefit from this. And we think it is practical, it is doable. And it just requires a decision that we can talk about our political, our economic, and all other issues in an atmosphere free of violence, free of terrorism. And we think not only it is doable, better sense should prevail after this long conflict of 4 decades in this country, that we better do it sooner than later.
Thank you so much, Ambassador, and to the colleagues of AISS. I think what's very evident in the dialogue is that, correct me if I'm wrong, India is looking for a negative peace in Afghanistan, which is just the absence of violence. I think that's a very macro level way of approaching it, but at the micro level, considering what a positive peace for Afghans means, is that every Afghan can reach their full potential. I think if we look at the ground, we're still living over 70% poverty, with high rates of gender-based violence, massive inequalities, urban and rural divides. So I think it's at least interesting for me to understand what is the exact definition of peace that India is wanting to implement in Afghanistan.
I think I made that very amply clear, that peace for us is empowerment of all the people to enable them to reach their full potential, to integrate the region for socio-economic benefit of all. Did I talk of that? And I gave you an example of how fast we have moved on the eastern side with the other neighbors here in these terms. I also mentioned that our fundamental policy, foreign policy framework, is to create stakes for our neighbor in India's growth. Because India is the largest country. India is the biggest economy. Despite all these problems that we face in connectivity between India and Afghanistan, India is your largest export market. I am looking for that peace. And that peace is something we can attain if there is no violence. In an atmosphere of violence, you cannot reach your full potential. Your first thing is to worry about siblings and children remaining safe rather than going out and playing in a park. So when we emphasize on cessation of violence, is a prerequisite for human development in all its aspects. And that's what is our objective. And to reach that objective, the path, the means, is cessation of violence. Cessation of violence is not an end of the journey. It is rather the necessary precondition for moving fast on the road of human empowerment.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for sharing your thoughts and views. And at the end, Dr. Muradian wants to offer you something on behalf of AISS. تشکر بسیار زیاد. برنامه ختم است و از راهنما آماده است.